Welcome back to the Visionary Speaker Series of One Earth Live. Today we have the great honor and pleasure to be sharing deep wisdom with two incredible elders who have devoted their lives to uniting and bringing together the indigenous wisdom from all across the world. I'd like to introduce Jyoti. Great to have you here.
Thank you.
And Loretta, Afraid of Bear Cook. So wonderful to have you here, Loretta.
Thank you.
Jyoti, would you like to share a little bit about your journey, who you are, just so the audience can get to know you a little bit better?
Well, thank you, Chris, and welcome everybody. I'm very humbled that Chris has thought of us this way and brought us here to meet you. Some call me Grandma Jyoti, some call me Jyoti Ma. I'm a grandma, 72 years old, and growing, I like to say. I'm an auntie, a mama, a sister, a woman of heart and prayer. My feet have been on a spiritual path for going on 40 years in a real deliberate way. And that path has brought me into opening a spiritual community called Kayamari, which ended up moving itself to have different positions around the planet. And that left us with ceremony and ways of prayer that are based on the protocols of the earth, and elders that saw something in us before we saw it ourselves, and started to come up our 14-mile logger road up to where our land was, where we were living. And started to initiate us in these old lines of prayer that go back to those original times. And that actually helped us remember about a way to walk on this planet more gently and knowing that all life is sacred. We raised our children that way. They were born in my bathtub. And those that were born in my bathtub so many years ago are now finished with college and out there in the world, making their own impression about what that path taught them. Along this trail and through some of the work that we received, we would convene the International Council of 13 Indigenous Grandmothers, which became a global peace movement, so that our grandmothers that represented different lines of prayer could really be a symbol in the world for waking up to the diversity of this great creation, and that we could sit at a table and carry different ways of prayer and different customs and different language and still work from our hearts and stand in union as one for peace amongst all nations. So we walked with the council for almost a full decade, helping to organize and raise money for it, and tend to the prayer and the instruction it was giving us about where it wanted to go and the teachings it wanted to bring to so many. A couple of years before that we were going to individuate from each other. The Great Mother gave me another seed. I call them her archetypal seeds, where she wants me to hold on to them for a while till they start to open and instruct us with what they need to do here on the planet. And it was called the Fountain for Natural Order of Our Existence, which how the Mamos would call it later. And so it's been in operation now, or up and showing us where it wants to walk for 8 years. Its mission was to restore an economic model that was based on reciprocity and collaboration and guided by nature and the sacred. And so it's really bringing us back to those original principles about how we economize our life. What I'm so amazed at is when I look back at this story, this line of prayer that I've been walking all these years, I came to understand there was a plan unfolding in it all. And that would poise us in this moment we're standing in right now with some of the solution for these times. And for that, I'm so grateful and always humbled. So that would give you a little brushstroke, Chris, of what got me to sit here with you today with my beautiful sister, Loretta Afraid of Bear Cook, who I love. She likes to say when she turns around, I'm on the back side, and when she turns around, I'm there. So we we've been working this way, particularly for our sacred sites, the Black Hills and South Dakota, where we've done a lot of work to help globally for people to understand how important the sacred sites are to reopen and restore so Mother Earth can breathe again and start to help us move into where she's taking us next. So thank you for the invitation.
Thank you, Jyoti. It's so wonderful to have you here. Loretta, could you share a little bit of yourself?
Thank you, Chris. Thank you for the invitation. It really humbles me to connect after several years of spending time with you and Angela and with the Uplift folks a few years ago. I am in my nation's circle house. I'm called Obetu Lutawi, and what that means is, loosely translated, it would be Red Day Woman, or I do things of spiritual nature or value in the light of the day. And I come from a fireplace. My people are called the Great Sioux Nation, and within that context, you have 7 sacred fireplaces. And we, each of us, come from one of those fireplaces. Well, in my fireplace, I'm one of the sub-bands under Titua, or Teton, and I come from the Oglala fireplace under the same. And so what you have then is a makeup of all of our brothers and sisters across 5 states surrounding South Dakota. There are 9 Sioux reservations, Sioux Indian reservations in South Dakota, and then you have 1 in Montana, you have 1 in Nebraska, you have 4 in Minnesota, you have 1 in North Dakota, and the rest are all without boundary. They're all in Canada. And so we have a great area that we used to travel in. And according to seasons, according to time, which is one of the sacred, I would say the daytime and the nighttime are 2 of the sacred associate gods, if you will. So as Oglala, I come from a time where my people, we are under one very great vibration or movement or sacred movement, and that entirety is called Shka, and what Shka means is that sacred movement, the great vibration, the creator. All people in the world have their spiritual essences that they pay homage to. And for me, the male part, the male side is called Shka, the great vibration, and the female is called Woopre. And what Woopre means is the law of the females. And so I'm bound by the 2 and how I proceed and move forward as we provide stewardship ideas. How do we do things so that we protect our sacred sites? And when I came to work and get to know my sister Jyoti, she was gathering the stones in her basket that make up the livelihood of the 13 grandmothers, the International Council of 13 Grandmothers. And my mother was one of those. She was Beatrice Long Visitor Holy Dance. And through my mother's work, I followed her and I learned as much as I could in the time that I had with her. And at the end of that, I joined with Jyoti, and I sit on the fountain board in a place called the Earth Initiatives. And through that door, I'm able to work with many of our tribal nations in what they're wanting to do with their reclamation of how stewardship presents itself back in our time. So using what is available to us, whether it be prayer, which binds us all to what we're standing up for, that we can call each area by its name. And this isn't just for us here in the North, Central, or South Americas. It's for nations all throughout the world. We have a kinship with every one of those nations. And so I too am a grandmother. I have two grandsons, Tokala and Omani. Tokala is now going to be 7 next week. And my baby grandson, he's 21 months old. And so for them too, I'm doing the best that I know how to safeguard sacred sites, because I want them to have that for them in the future and for the next 7 generations. That's as far as I can hope and pray that we bring it.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Loretta. I want to ask you both a question. You spend your life and working with the indigenous nations and all the elders. What is Mother Earth telling us at this time, right now on the planet? We're having this big breakdown moment with COVID, and of course we have climate change and so many other stresses that are happening for society and for our planet. What is Mother Earth telling us right now?
Go ahead, sis.
Go ahead, Jyoti.
Well, 2 things come up for me when you ask that question. Because what I was talking about a while ago is, when I look back, there has been something unfolding here that put us in this moment. When I look all the way back, my mother birthed me and my feet touched the Black Hills first, 72 years ago. I would be 53 when my grandpa, Eugene Black Bear, who was Cheyenne, would take me and my husband and the one that walks closest to me, Darlene Hunter, up to Bear Butte to sit us on the mountain for 4 years so he could qualify us so we could receive some of the teachings that he wanted us to carry on when he was gone. He's no longer with us. He walked with our community for 25 years or so, a long time. And then my feet would find its way up there again the next time when I would go to help my grandma Beatrice and her sister Rita hold their gathering for the International Council of 13 Indigenous Grandmothers, and to bring all of that into the Sundance so we could really strengthen the prayer that we were carrying. And the next time it would bring me up there would be in my 60s, when I was asked to help to start the Unity Concert, because when Obama had gone through, he had made a promise to the Great Sioux Nation that if they would unify themselves, and there are 17 tribes stretched over a lot of territory, if they would unify themselves and bring this management plan to him, he was going to try to get those Black Hills restored, put back in their original caretaker hands. And so the Unity Concert we held for 4 years with Loretta and I helped to organize all that. And it did that. It brought all of them together. They started to meet after a very long time where they hadn't been meeting. And we had worked so hard to meet with elders to do that, so that we could really acknowledge this global experience with our sacred sites, because it's so significant. And I say all that because that's what we're in the middle of doing right now in this moment. And that's the response that we need to continue on with, listening to Mother Earth. And I'll bet you that everybody out there takes a moment to look back at their trail, to look back and see what did they put their skin on to come here to do. That they'll start to see hints of that came all the way as they made their walk to stand here right now, for us to be sitting in circle like this and to be sharing like this. everyone here is bringing a contribution to this moment we're in, and it's significant. Everyone is significant in what's unfolding here. So I really I think the Mother Earth wants everyone to realize that significance right now and reclaim it, restore it, light it up. The other part that comes up for me is, last year the fires went through the lungs of the earth. And this year the coronavirus is going through our lungs, our human lungs. If in fact our bodies are a reflection of our Mother Earth, if for the first time we're really seeing that reflection loudly in ourselves, if we can get conscious enough and wake up to that, then what do we need to do for her and with her so her body can heal and come back to restored life force that it is? Because when that moment happens, that will happen in all of our bodies as well. So I think that's a very big study for me. I like to say when something comes up like this, nobody has any answers, but we've opened ourselves to a very significant study about that relationship with Mother Earth. We cut ourselves off from that relationship and we got lost. We got confused. There's prophecy about that we would do that we would walk that trail. So it's not like we don't need to stand here and decide who did it right or who did it wrong or do all of that kind of posturing around it out of our fear, out of our anger for where we're at. I think the most important thing would be to sit down. It's what's happened is she's made us sit down in our own homes in what Jinky from the Mother Earth delegation says are 0 points. So we could light our fires in those 0 points for ourselves, for our families, and for our communities, and declare our own sovereignty in that moment, because that's so significant and very important. When she plugs us back in, there'll come a time when we're going to recalibrate, and a big choice moment's going to happen here. Are we going to continue to stay in that alignment that we've been brought back to, so we can listen to Mother Earth and the instruction she will give us, particularly the instruction that she gives to her original caretakers, those original peoples of this planet that have the steps about what we can do if we will just listen? Can we be humble enough just to sit and listen? Because that choice is what will be the next response, because we are going through, the Earth is going through her 6th extinction. She's moving into a new level of being on this planet like never before. We're moving from those lower chakras into our heart. We're into once we enter that heart, we start our ascension into full beingness here. So we're going, evolution is marching. Can we be humble enough to follow that direction, make that connection, and light ourselves up in response to what's happening here with love and heart and joy and joy? There's more, but that, I hope that at least touches a little bit of it.
Jyoti.
Loretta?
I would like to reflect back to a purposeful message I received from John Gibbon, who is one of our most revered medicine men from my reservation at Pine Ridge. And when I asked John, I said, what can we do for keeping protected? Because this illness that's coming, this infection, it knows, it flows. And for some reason, it's flowing closer to where it's warmer and not so much up here where it's cold. Today, it's really cold here in New York. And so he told me, he gave me a specific duty, and he said for me to share it. And that was to put our hopes and dreams back into a willow stick or willow branch or a choke cherry branch or from a tree branch from our own homelands, a nice 14-inch branch. Wrap it with red material and make your prayers and put 28 green tobacco ties, they're little tobacco ties that you attach to this red. He said, and as you're praying, he said, make sure that you're putting all of your hopes and dreams and visions in it, and your promises and the things that you're going to stand up for, and the things that each of those ties represent, that you're going to learn to get along with each other and remember how that used to be. And so something as small and perhaps as insignificant as something tangible, he gave us that. And so we send that forward. And so today there are groups of Native people and non-Native people all over that have heard that message, that are using that tangibleness and the love that we received from John to tell us to put those hopes and dreams in it. But he said that's the same thing that you put when you put it into the ground, stand it up. He said, think about grandmother Earth, how she's putting her energy up into you. And as women, he said, you understand how that energy comes. He said, we're all stardust, right? And so from the cosmos, we come down as stardust and we become who we are. And when we give up our breath back to the air, we go into the Earth Mother and she makes us over again. So he told us to remember those things. And what it did for me was to make me realize how insignificant I really am in terms of this wider world perspective. And I had to ask myself, can I be alone with my own thoughts for however long it's going to be? But we always have lived quietly in humility and isolation, so to speak. We don't always be running somewhere just to be going somewhere. So we hold our grounds, we stay in our homes. And today, I give you an example. At Pine Ridge, we have a 72-hour lockdown because there were 2 people that came with the infection to Wounded Knee area. And everybody knows where Wounded Knee, South Dakota is. And so they got on it, they isolated them, but also what it did was it shut everything down. So the state of South Dakota, the governor is threatening to come on with the National Guard to do a confrontation. And this confrontation plan that she has comes from a higher power, which is from her support for the president of the US and also from his campaign people. And so she's being told to confront, to always confront. But as Native people, we don't handle it like that. We're told about being good to each other because all we have are each other. And that's really all what this is about. We tell our people, take only what you need. There's always going to be a sense of, oh, where am I going to get this? But what we forget is that there are higher powers out there that have kept this world for thousands and thousands of years. We have been kept alive. We're here because of our people who were strong enough to carry us to this point in our lives. And it's always going to be that the Earth Mother, the waters, our sun, the grandmother moon, it's always going to be that they're going to be there. But how we see that, receive it, and give it back, it should be in that gratitude, in that same way it's given to us without any hesitation. And so we have to believe that when we say we're protecting sacred sites, perhaps we mean just the area in which we live. We make it a sacred site. The things that we are tangible, that we share with each other. So today, that group of women here are making, from the time that I told them, for 28 days, they're putting 1 tobacco tie on each day and night. And so I told them, when it's time, everything is good again, everything is clear again, then they told us to build the fire and to feed it to our fire, make it as an offering and say thank you. So something could be as gentle and as simple as that. But yet it carries with it all of the power and the grace and the humility, the integrity, whatever it is that makes us human beings. And it's all we put into that feeling. So we make the intention, we make the prayer, we have the faith that it's going to be that way. We believe on our prayer. So we say, thank you. So those 4 things I want to share with the world, that if you have the intention, you pray about it, you have the faith that it's going to be that way, and then you say Thanksgiving at the same time. And if we were to do this, perhaps that little bit of humility will cause so much more to grow and to be better than what we've been doing before COVID. So I believe what my sister, what she says about the transformation is here. We're transforming. We're getting to be better people.
Mm-hmm.
And we're getting to be sitting together so that we're with our own thoughts and then we share. So thank you for this opportunity to share with One Earth Live and what's going to happen in the next few days. I just share those words with you because when they always ask us, as you're visionaries, you vision these things. These are some of the things that we do vision. We've had the talk, we've had the feeling, and so now we're giving it. There's no charge for it. You don't have to sacrifice anything.
Mm-hmm.
Be alone with your thoughts. Respect what's going on in your head. It's telling you some things. We have been too busy to stop and listen to what's going on. When Spirit is trying to talk to us, we don't hear it. And then we're saying, what's going on out there? Well, today you're going on out there.
Uh-huh. Oh.
Thank you so much. Jyoti, you mentioned the word prophecy, and this is this moment really part of the prophecies? Is that what's being talked about with the First Nation elders?
Oh, yes. Loretta can speak to this much more firmly and with a lot of wisdom. There are many prophecies right now, pretty much all saying the same things in different ways, really. I'll go to my Kogi elders that I've worked with now for over 8 years, and they gave us a prophecy a couple of years ago that I think is extremely instructive right now, and it helped us prepare for this. My community, our spiritual community, we're over 30 years old, our community, in coming together and learning and how to remember ourselves again. They say that the ending is falling into the beginning, and the beginning will roll out in 2026, and it will roll out through those individuals and organizations and movements like this one that are based on original principle being reciprocity, collaboration, heart, unity, and all life is sacred. They say it's important to watch as the ending falls down so you can stay informed, but stay focused on that which is breaking through, and then you'll be okay. And so I think what we're watching right now is the coronavirus has, however it got here, there's so many theories about all that, right? But we can get lost in all that. It's come across our planet for a reason, and it's showing us where all the cracks are of an old system that's just coming to its completion. We don't need to make it right or wrong or what, all of that. It's really, like I said, we're at the end of that, where she started into her 6th extinction. She's done this 5 times before, and the ending had to come so that she could push through the new that was about to present itself. In India, they have these clocks on the wall, and the clock goes from 12 to 1 is 2,500 years, from 1 to 2 is 2,500 years, and so it goes all the way around the clock. And it goes for 26,000 years. And that last little bit, they call the Kali Yuga. That's when the falling down, that's when the ending is falling into the beginning. That's when it is the hardest time to walk through. But many of my elders say that's why many of us came right now, because we've been there before. We helped with that ending and that beginning, and we're here again to do it for our Mother Earth and for the universe. Because Mother Earth doesn't move through all of this by herself. She has her own family, her own relations, the stars, the moon, the planets, the Milky Way. These are all part of the Seven Sisters, the Pleiades. She has all of these are all part of her relations, part of her family, and we're all moving through that together. So that's a couple of the ways that the different prophecies have spoken about it. There's another one that's very active right now between the eagle and the condor. Because the way, and this is a brief telling, so excuse me, sis. I mean, no disrespect for it, but just briefly to give a brushstroke of its intention, the way it was told to me, there was a time when the earth, the North and South America were one land. And we went through big change then. And it went, and we split apart. And so did the people. But they said this would happen so that the eagle, the North, would start to move in its mind, in its creative mind and sourcing of that. And that the condor would open and move through its heart. And that the eagle would almost take over the heart when something would occur that would start to move us so they would fly together. And when that began, that's when we were opening the door to this next part, the next 26,000 years that was heralding itself in. So as we've done our walk with our community, I realized, because I was very naive when we started this walk, still am, but when we realized at a certain point that, wow, the eagle condor has been calling us into work with it all these years in the way it's weaved us down into Colombia and down into Mexico and up in all the different parts of the United States and the North. So it's in a profound moment of explanation right now, because the eagle and the condor are flying together. Our elders are meeting in those ways in both countries in order to really serve and empower ourselves in the instruction of that prophecy. And there are many more. There are many more. Loretta, did you want to add something to that?
I think just in keeping with that prophecies that were sent down, I'm the wife of a Sundance leader. And so these many years I have danced the Sundance beside my husband. So collectively, I think we have about 80 years of Sundance years between us. And we've been requested by many relatives across the globe to come and help people to do the Sundance. And where I always felt that something belongs to a people, then it should be honored in that way. And lo and behold, the teaching came from my mother, and she said, you can never get in the way negatively against people by refusing their request for prayer. And so with that in mind, the condor and the eagle and the processes whereby that is happening today. My husband and I were asked to come to Nayarit province in Mexico to do Sundance with them. And so we went there and did 4 years of dance and teachings there. And then the Mapuche people from Santiago, Chile, asked us to come to their homelands. And so we go there and we dance with them. So this year will be our 4th year that we've been helping the Mapuche people and their land claim. And this goes clear down to Patagonia. And so we're dancing and praying with people all up and down the whole area. And now in France, the native people from France are asking for us to come to France. So with all of these things in mind, you know, I was thinking to myself that if we want to really physically do something to stop using gas or fuel, okay, so if we're going to be talking in that manner, how better to educate the masses, as it were, wherever the prayer is leading us, so that we can just maybe go once or twice and teach them and let them honor it. And so it's been my honor to share prayers. I could see how that transcends any barriers and or any languages even. You know, you feel it with your heart. And it's such a wonderful revelation to me that the prophecies that have been shared from time immemorial, we are those living prophecies today, because we step up and we say, okay, we'll do it. And sometimes, you know, I would venture to say that coming from the ancients, each and every band or sub-band of the tribes had their own family ways, their kinship ways. And so we follow that. But we've never added anything. We've never changed anything to those ceremonies, because that's how they were taught to us. They were told to us that way, and we keep them that way. So we keep our integrity, we keep our honesty, our truth, whatever it is that makes us who we are. In that fashion, we're able to share and not feel like you're stepping into anybody's way, or they're requesting you to do it. You're meeting them. And that was my mother telling me, you cannot get in front of people if they come and ask you for prayer. That's the holiest work that we could do. And so I believe that that's the ways of the world. And one of my former bosses, President Teresa Tubles, who was president of our Oglala tribe in 2008 to 2010, her saying, or her sacred words for her campaign, she said, I want our people to have understanding, unity, and peace. And for a female to stand up there and talk about understanding, for the first time, the entire nation responded. And we've never had women chiefs in our tribe, but we're even seeing at that level now. And so I think that, again, you know, the teachings come back to the women. Our white buffalo calf matriarch of all matriarchs, she gave us something. She gave us duties, and we honor that today. So we still have the language, we still have the ceremonies, we still do things the same way that we've been taught. Never add anything, never change anything. Mm-hmm. So those are the words that come with these prophecies. And as we're going, we see them happen. We see the integrity of something. We see the knowledge being shared. Mm-hmm. It's such a profound way that, you know, it brings tears to my eyes. And that's what our grandmothers and grandfathers always told us. Mm-hmm. You're going to see in the future, there are going to be things that are going to make you cry with joy, but also cry with, you're going to be sad. So be prepared. So with that, you know, I thank you, sister, for giving me the opportunity to share some of this with you. And for you, Chris, this is amazing work you're doing, opening up whole channels for many people to talk together. It's amazing work you're doing. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. You're an instrument of this time.
Thank you both so much. Really appreciate it. Really appreciate you both so much and your work and the dedication that you have to uplifting the planet. And, you know, it's been so wonderful to have you both be part and come full circle back into our uplift world again too. So, in the Global Days of Unity, as I've been sharing to the One Earth audience as well, is that a place where we don't have to just do it once, and just let it go away, but we can actually come back as a community once a month on the third weekend of the month and share and go deep into these types of discussions and music and art and everything that can uplift us and bring us together as a community. So really appreciate having you both here with us today.
Hi everyone.
Welcome.
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 Namaste.
Welcome
to the Global Days of Unity.
From the minute that I heard about Global Days of Unity, I understood that it was the thing for this time. The incredible coming together of people, music, song, prayer, that it's like a massive infusion of energy into consciousness, into the world. And what I love about it is it's completely accessible by anyone, anywhere. And let's create that togetherness and that cohesion third weekend of every month.
Deep inhale to the center.
Today at this session, we have a wonderful panel, wonderful presenters.
It brings together a unity that I don't think has ever really truly been done correctly. And just learning about the initiative makes my heart warm.
Put our thought into it, we put intention into it, it can just be so powerful and can become so huge and have such a big impact.
I think what inspires me the most about the Global Days of Unity initiative is the experimental aspect of it, right? Like, this thing has never been done before. We've tried so many different things. We haven't tried people coming together with a sense of intention and joy. Let's try something new. Let's see what humanity can be. And I'm excited about that possibility.
If we send out love, then the world responds with love. So in Global Days of Unity, just imagine the consequence of a large number of people sending out wonderful thoughts of love, peace, and harmony, because we can change this planet just by the thinking of those wonderful thoughts. And in community, we re-empower each other, but we can also empower the world.
I want to invite you
The third weekend of every month.
Let us be together.
In the Global Days of Unity.
Welcome home.